Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode, we're reviewing Backlash from 2025. Now, if you haven't seen any of my videos before, I grade everything on a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Let's jump right in. We have 5 matches for this card. We're starting off with a Fatal 4-Way for the US Championship. We have LA Knight, going up against Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, and the defending champion Jacob Fatu. I think this was a great match to start the show. There was a lot of action, a lot of violence. You have 4 really good wrestlers, top of the tier wrestlers. The only thing I worry about in something like this, and I believe it's already happened to Damian Priest, and I think it's happening to Drew McIntyre and even somewhat to LA Knight, is they keep getting in these non-consequential matches. And not saying this is non-consequential because it's a US title match. That has consequences, but you get put in these matches where you're not winning and you're part of a 4-way and you're not part of the outcome, and the fans just start to not care because you're not doing anything significant. Priest is kind of stuck there already. I think McIntyre is going there as good as he is and as great as these last couple of years have been. I feel like they need to pull the trigger and do something important with him, like his CM Punk feud, to get him back on track. LA Knight, I kind of think he's one of those guys that you can set aside and pull back into the main parts anytime you want because he's got that type of connectability. Priest and McIntyre to an extent too. McIntyre more than Priest. But that's the one thing I take out of this that's a negative. I did think this was a really fun match. We got to see the debut of Jeff Cobb, which it seems like that's going to be the name they're going with. They called him that on commentary. We have more of the friction between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. Didn't seem like Jacob was clued in that Jeff Cobb would be there. Obviously, Jacob Fatu picked up the win here. I really enjoyed this match. I like the fact that Jeff Cobb's there. I think he's going to be a guy that, for those of you that haven't seen him yet, he's going to blow your mind with how great he is. I'm going to give this match a 4. I thought it was really good. Next up, we have the Women's Intercontinental Championship match, Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch. And I kind of think it's funny that they're somewhat ignoring their NXT run against each other, and they're going with more of a teacher versus student type thing. I love this match, and I think the more and more we're seeing of Lyra, the more she's being comfortable as a character, because she's already comfortable in the ring. She's already one of the best women's workers in the world. The more we get to see her on these screens being in there with Becky Lynch, and that helps a lot, being in there with somebody as talented as Becky Lynch, both on the microphone and in the ring, it helps bring her to that level. I thought this was a really fun match. Lyra did pick up the win here. I'm giving this one a 4 as well. Now our next matchup, we have Dominic Mysterio versus Penta. And I really like this match again, and I know I'm sounding like a broken record. I thought this was a fun card altogether. Spoiler, this was fun, and it's kind of cool to see how far Dominic Mysterio has come, both as a character and as a wrestler. This is one of his strongest in-ring performances since he's been in WWE, in my opinion. And he's only getting better and better. And his character work's already there. He's already a top-tier character in the company. It's only a matter of time before he's one of the top-tier workers in the company, too. Penta, what can you say about Penta? Penta's absolutely amazing. I do think he is going to have the problem I just talked about with Priest and McIntyre if he keeps getting in these type matches and not winning anything significant. But I have a feeling they're going towards a Lucha Brothers reunion very soon, and it's been teased a couple times. So I could easily see that happen. I think he's going to be figured in huge on that Worlds Collide pay-per-view, which is kind of cool they're doing it the same day as Money in the Bank, but kind of also sucks because I think Money in the Bank's going to take away some of the importance of the Worlds Collide pay-per-view. I digress. I think that Worlds Collide pay-per-view is going to be amazing. It's going to give a lot of fans that haven't seen the AAA wrestlers and their talents a good window into some of the best wrestlers in the world. I digress. I really enjoyed this match, like I said. You know, obviously, Judgment Day all get involved. El Grande Americano comes out and costs Penta the win. Dom wins by dirty deeds or dirty methods, so he's right on brand. I think Dominic Mysterio, and when you hear this come out of my mouth, you may question it, but really, I want you to think about it, especially for those that were there when it was happening the first time. Dominic Mysterio, to me, is Roddy Piper in WWE. He's a heel, but he's such a great heel that he's turning himself into a face, and he's not going to have to change who he is as a face for the fans to love him. I think they'll love him, and they'll want him to cheat in his matches, like they did with Piper. If you were around back then, you'll remember, and if you're not, you understand Roddy Piper, even if you weren't around 40 years ago to watch it when it was happening. Piper's one of the all-time legends, and I hate to say it, but I think Dom's on his way to getting on that list. I really, really love his work, and if you would have asked me in his initial babyface version if Dom Mysterio would even be there 2 years later, I probably would have said no, because he didn't seem like he had it. But all it took was a little bit of a change, a little bit of a freshening up, and we see the Dominic Mysterio we have now. I'm giving this match a 4 again. I know I sound like a broken record, but I did really enjoy these first 3 matches. Next up, we have our only non-title match of the card. We get Pat McAfee going up against Gunther, and the story is obviously Gunther has been terrorizing the commentators, Michael Cole and Pat McAfee, because they haven't been talking positively about him since WrestleMania. This is my least favorite match of the night, and I want to say that with the understanding that I think Pat McAfee did great. I think it was a good match. The psychology to me was hurt a little bit, though. And what I mean by that is, I don't mind that Pat McAfee got in offense. I don't mind that he got in some hits when Gunther was underestimating him. I don't even mind the fact that he didn't necessarily back down or give up when he was in bad situations. I do mind that he was that competitive with that guy for that long. Gunther has been presented almost to the level of Brock Lesnar, and when you have a guy of that stature and that nature, you could tell that same story that they told about his resolve, about his willingness to fight, about his toughness, and you could have cut 5 minutes out of this match, and you could have gave Gunther a more dominant win while still making Pat look good. I think the match went a little too long. The Michael Cole involvement, I won't say it was as bad as heel Michael Cole, but it reminded me a bit of heel Michael Cole. And like I said, I think they did good. If you took this in a bubble and you didn't have the storyline and you didn't know which wrestler was which, you just watch this as a match. It's a good match. But for who Gunther is and who Pat is, as far as on TV wise, it should have been more one-sided, in my opinion. Gunther did pick up the win, and he did seem to show Pat and Michael Cole a little bit of respect afterwards. Maybe that's foreshadowing a somewhat face turn. This is my least favorite match of the card. I'm going to give it a 3. I don't think it was a bad match, like I said. I just have problems with the logic a little bit. Now, last but not least, our main event for the World Heavyweight Championship, we have John Cena versus Randy Orton. And they mentioned that this is their 23rd time wrestling each other. I feel like it's been a lot more than that, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way. I don't think I've ever seen a bad Cena and Orton match. These are two guys that, in kayfabe and in storyline, have been fighting for that top spot in the company for the last 20 plus years. I haven't looked on anything to see if that was a correct stat. I was blown away by the fact, and I had to look this up because I didn't know this, that they met on one of their Pillman cards before OVW. The Pillman Memorial cards, that is. And I forget what year it was, but they did. I think it was 01, which was kind of interesting that that was their first meeting and they would go on to be what they are. There's going to be people that come on here on bigger YouTube channels, littler YouTube channels, and tell you that they didn't like this match and talk about how it was overbooked and there was too much at the end, which I kind of am seeing a pattern with the Triple H main event matches, whether it be Bloodline, whether it be Cody, whether it be Cena. He does tend to overbook them a bit, but they kind of feel like the overbooking that happened in the Attitude Era. Only thing is, instead of it being every single match, he's keeping it for the main event. For me, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I thought the match was fun. Their headlock exchange, for two wrestlers to do something as simple as headlocks back and forth and be that invested in watching it, it tells you how special these guys are. I mean, John Cena is starting to get some of the respect that he never got in his career. Randy Orton, I think, always has got the respect, at least from the people that like him. There's a set of people that don't like Randy Orton or think that he's too slow. I have always liked his work. I've always thought, even at the peak of Cena and Orton, that Orton was the better of the two. And I still think that today. This heel run for John Cena, for me, it's had missteps, but even with the missteps, I think Cena is putting in some great work. What he's doing is not the missteps. What he's being put into, there have been some there. I like the ref bumps. I like the exchange of finishers. Like I said, this reminded me a lot of a Stone Cold versus The Rock match in, let's say, 99. This had that feel to it, where you had spamming finishers, you had doing each other's finishers, you had ref bumps, you had interference. The whole cruiserweight division of the 2000s came out and got RKOs at one point. Nick Aldis took another RKO, which I hope at some point that leads to a match between Aldis and Orton, which I think would be great. Then we see R-Truth come out, and I've seen already some people talk about a comedy guy being there, but it's so much on brand that R-Truth would be there to help his hero, his childhood hero, John Cena. And you felt the turning point there because Orton had to hit him with the RKO. He deserved getting RKO because he was interfering in Orton's match and stopping him from winning. Then, kind of like a callback to the Cody match, you almost saw Randy Orton feel compassion, feel like he had made a mistake by doing that to R-Truth, and took his eye off of Cena, letting Cena hit the low blow, letting Cena hit the belt shot, which gave him the win. I know I'm probably going to be the person on YouTube that ranks us higher than everybody else, but I'm giving it a 5. I was thoroughly entertained, and that's what I judge my scale on. I don't judge it by how many counters are done in the match, how many innovative moves are done in the match. I judge it by how entertained I am by the match, and this gave it to me. As overbooked as it was, as silly as the ending was, I loved it. I ate it up. I guess I'm the target audience for what they were doing here. I thought this was fantastic. Again, I'm giving it a 5. The media scrum after, with his interaction with Triple H and then putting R-Truth to the table, that I thought was great too. I've seen rumors that that's going to lead to a match between Truth and Cena at Saturday night's main event, which I think would be cool. I definitely hope that Truth and Cena get to wrestle at some point during this retirement run because, again, I've always liked their interactions with each other. Overall, I thought this was a fun show. It was a brisk-paced show. It came in under 3 hours, which I love that. In a time when their weekly shows are 3 hours themselves, giving us a pay-per-view that has 5 matches, 4 matches sometimes, and keeping it relatively short unless it's one of the big 4 or big 5 or however you want to say it. I love that. All the matches felt important, even though most of them, except for the Lyra and Becky match, there was no question who was winning them. I do feel they all had importance. 4 out of the 5 matches are championship matches. The 5th match is somewhat of a grudge match. Overall, I found this really enjoyable. I'm going to give the card a 4. Like I said, I really enjoyed this. I'm probably the most positive person that you'll hear on that main event on YouTube. You could go to all the other people. I haven't watched anyone else's review. But if you go to Cultaholic, you go to Wrestle Talk, you go to Steven Larson, even if you wait for Meltzer's review, I know Meltzer's not going to give that a 5. He'll probably be in the range of a 3 in my opinion. I know this isn't the kind of match he digs. But anyway, I digress. I thought overall it was a 4. Really enjoyable. I had fun watching it. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and you've been watching Heel Heat.